All right, here's a thought for you. You've got two houses, right? They're identical, same size, same condition, same everything. But could the cost of getting them appraised be wildly different? It sounds kind of weird, but the answer is a huge yes. So let's get into it. We're going to unpack this puzzle of why your simple street address can completely change the numbers. So the real question here is, does location actually affect a home appraisal? Like, is it just some minor detail or is it the whole ballgame?
Oh yeah, it does. A big, fat yes. But here's the kicker. It affects it in two totally different ways. And trust me, this is where it starts to get really interesting.
Okay, so to really get this, you got to think about it like a tale of two different costs. First, you have the fee you're actually paying the appraiser for their work, and then you have the final value they put on your home. Your address, your location, it messes with both of those numbers, but for totally different reasons. So let's break that down. All right, first up, the appraiser's fee. This is all about how much work they have to do. I mean, the amount of time, the effort, even the risk involved in creating a solid report can be night and day different from one place to another. You know, some appraisals are like putting together a really simple puzzle. Imagine a neighborhood full of cookie-cutter homes or condos that sell all the time. For an appraisal, all the pieces are right there on the table. They've got tons of clean data, which makes the whole thing pretty quick and easy. But then you have the other kind, the ones that are less of a puzzle and more like a full-blown detective investigation. We're talking about a unique house out in the country, or a home in a crazy hot market, or maybe a historic property. The appraiser basically has to become Sherlock Holmes, digging for clues, analyzing sales that aren't a perfect match, and justifying every single move. And all that extra legwork? Well, that means a higher fee. And this really breaks down that urban versus rural difference perfectly. In the city, you've got tons of similar sales to look at. Easy. But out in the country, good luck. Sales are few and far between, and every property is unique. Different lot sizes, different utilities, you name it. That means more driving around and a way more complicated analysis for the appraiser. And hey, it's not just about city versus country. The appraiser might have to dig into super complicated local zoning rules, figure out if you're in a flood zone, or deal with really strict building codes. Even things like a high cost of living in the area, or a crazy high-risk market where prices are flying up, all that adds to their workload. And yep, that's reflected in the fee. Okay, so let's flip the coin. We've talked about the fee you pay. Now let's get to the big one, the actual value of your home. And this is where we see how location is, arguably, the single biggest thing that shapes that final number. I know you've heard it a million times, right? Location, location, location. But there's a reason it's such a cliche. It is absolutely true. In fact, appraisers are literally required to do a deep dive on the neighborhood because what's going on outside your house is often just as important as what's going on inside. So what exactly makes a neighborhood a hot ticket? Well, appraisers are looking at all the big things, good schools, low crime, easy access to shopping and jobs, nice parks. All those things that people are willing to pay extra for. And that extra, it gets baked right into your home's value. And this analysis gets super, super specific. We're not just talking about one side of town versus the other. We're talking about tiny micro neighborhoods. A single street or even just a school district line can create a massive difference in value between two houses that are literally right next to each other. It's wild. Okay, here's a bit of appraisal jargon for you, external obsolescence. It sounds complicated, but it's really simple. It's when the value of your perfectly nice home gets dragged down by something that's totally outside your property line and totally out of your control. Think about being next to a loud factory or a super busy highway. Even a neighbor's junkyard can literally lower your home's value on paper. It's a huge reminder that your property's value is tied to everything around it. So when you think about all these little local details, it really shines a spotlight on something critical. The human element. Getting an appraiser who actually knows the area, who lives and breathes that local market, that's not just a bonus. It's absolutely essential if you want an accurate number. See, a local pro knows which recent sales are actually good comparisons and which ones are totally irrelevant. They're the ones who know about that invisible school district line that adds 50 grand to a home's value. They get the real pulse of the market. Is it heating up, cooling down? That's the kind of insider knowledge someone from 2 towns over would just completely miss, and that could really skew the final number. All right, we've gone through the fee, we've gone through the final value. So what's the big takeaway here? What does this actually mean for you? Let's put it all together. look, here's the bottom line. Your address isn't just a line of text on a document. It's pretty much the main character in the story of your home's appraisal. It decides how hard the appraiser has to work, which sets the fee, and it has a huge, huge say in what that final value is going to be. And that really leaves us with one last thing to think about, right? You can pour money into a new kitchen, you can redo the bathrooms, you can get the landscaping looking perfect. But after all of that, could it be that the single most valuable feature of your home was its address all along?